A 2,500-year-old prophecy just came true. The story of the Book of Esther. There's a prophecy hidden deep in the Bible. It actually came to light just a few years ago, and it's been around for 2,500 years. You'll find it in one of the less studied books, the Book of Esther, and I'm about to reveal this prophecy to you. But first, let's dive into the story of Esther. The Book of Esther kicks off with the reign of Achashvarosh, the king of Persia, who was the greatest ruler of his time. He inherited the Babylonian kingdom from Nebuchadnezzar after a few generations. So, what happens next? In the third year of his reign, he throws a banquet that lasts a whopping 180 days. During this feast, he calls for his wife, Queen Vashti, to come and join the men's banquet. The catch: he had to come in the nude, and she flat out refuses. This makes Achashvarosh furious, and he orders her execution. After some time, he regrets his decision and decides to find a new queen. They gather the most beautiful women from his 127 provinces, and in the end, he falls in love with Esther. But here's the twist. Esther doesn't reveal her heritage. We know she's Jewish, but she's advised by her uncle Mordecai not to disclose her origins. Now, Achashvarosh has a minister named Haman, who is a descendant of Agag, the Amalekite. This is significant because God commanded to erase the memory of Amalek from the earth. If you're curious about that, we have a great video on our channel about Amalek. Haman despises the Jewish people and convinces the king to issue a decree allowing the extermination of all Jews in Achashvarosh's reign, which, in practice, means all Jews worldwide. When Esther learns of this, she realizes that her position as queen isn't just a coincidence. She's perhaps the only one with the power to revoke this death decree against her people. What does she do? She asks all of Israel to fast for 3 days, and she joins in too. After the 3 days, she approaches Achashvarosh, fearing for her life since she hasn't been summoned in over a month. She says, "My king, I have something really important to ask you." And the king replies, "Of course." She invites him and Haman to a banquet. During this feast, she reveals, "You know there's a death decree against the Jews. Well, I need to tell you something I've kept hidden until now. I'm Jewish, and this wicked man sitting next to us is the one responsible for that decree. Please, my husband, revoke it and put an end to Haman." Achashvarosh is furious upon hearing this. He steps out onto the balcony, and in that moment, Haman throws himself at Esther's feet, pleading for mercy. When the king returns, he finds Haman on the queen's bed. Furious, he orders, "Immediately, hang Haman." One of the royal advisors mentions that Haman has built a gallows, 50 cubits high, that's about 25 meters, to execute Mordecai. The king thinks that's a fitting place for Haman to meet his end. So, Haman is executed. And not just him, his 10 sons are also put to death. At this point, the king asks Esther, "What else do you desire?" Esther responds with a strange request. "If it pleases you, please allow that tomorrow, the 10 sons of Haman be hanged." This is a puzzling request, since Haman's sons have already been killed by the king's forces. So why ask for their execution again? This is where the hidden prophecy comes into play. The Book of Esther is the only book in the Bible where God's name docenti appear. It's concealed. The name Esther in biblical Hebrew means hidden. So, while it's the story of Queen Esther, it's also a tale of what's hidden beneath the surface. Now, let's uncover what's concealed. When it mentions the king, it's clear we're talking about Achashvarosh, but our sages teach that, when it simply says the king, it refers to God. So when Esther asks the king to hang Haman's sons tomorrow, she's really speaking to God. Fascinating, right? The Book of Esther was written on parchment by a scribe, using special ink like a Torah scroll. These scrolls have letters that vary in size, some are larger, some smaller. For instance, the word Bereshit in the beginning has a big bet. And in the famous verse, Shema Yisrael, Hear O Israel, the Aeon is large. In the Book of Esther, we also see letters that are both small and large, especially in the names of Haman's sons. The first son's name, Parshandata, has a small toph, which is worth 400. Another son, Parmashta, has a small shin. Finally, in one of the last names, Visata, there's a large VOV, worth 6. So, someone had the brilliant idea to consider what these small and large letters might mean. In Judaism, we use letters to denote the year. Right now, we're in the year Toph, Shin, Pei, Bet, which equals 782. But actually, we're in 5782, the 6th millennium, and within that, we're in year 782. Now, Check this out. If we treat the large Vav, which equals 6, as the 6th millennium, it points to the year 5000. The small letters Tuf, Shin, and Zayin add up to 707, giving us 5707. When we line up 5707 with the Gregorian calendar, it brings us to 1946. What happened in 1946? The Nuremberg trials. After World War II, the United Nations judged the German leaders responsible for the Holocaust. 23 of the worst war criminals were tried, and 11 were sentenced to death. Isn't that wild? In 1946, Esther's request to the king, who we know represents God, was to hang Haman's 10 sons. And guess what? 11 major war criminals were sentenced to death. On the eve of the trial, one of them even committed suicide, leaving just 10. Here's another curious tidbit. Haman had a daughter who also took her life. When she realized her father's plans to annihilate God's people were failing. So, we see that Haman had 11 children, one of whom committed suicide, leaving 10 behind. Now, here's something simply divine. When these war criminals were executed, one named Julius Streicher was asked for his name. He defiantly replied, "You know my name." Then, he declared, "This is the Purim festival of 1946. Can you believe that? People were confused because it wasn't Purim. It was October, during the Feast of Tabernacles. Purim usually falls in March on the Gregorian calendar. Why did he say that? Jewish scholars began to calculate why he would mention Purim, and they realized that Esther, 2,500 years ago, had asked the king to hang 10 descendants of Haman. It was indeed clear in the book of Esther why she asked Ocheshvarosh to hang Haman's sons who were already dead. But if you read carefully, she was asking for tomorrow, not today. If she wanted the original sons, she would have asked for them to be executed right away, right? Instead, she's asking for a future event. And isn't it fascinating that the way they were to die corresponds exactly to what she requested? The book of Esther presents a prophetic year through those small and large letters, pointing to 1946. Interestingly, back then, executions were typically not by hanging anymore. They used electric chairs or lethal injections. So, there was a thought to delay the trials, but they didn't. Esther lived 2,500 years ago, and her prophecy unfolded just as she said. To top it off, one of the most notorious war criminals made sure the world knew. This is the Purim festival of 1946, the very celebration that commemorates the book of Esther. If you felt connected to this inspiring story, don't forget to share this video with someone who needs to learn about the Bible. Turn on the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, and leave a like. We'll see you in the next video with more inspiring stories like this one.